Welcome to part 2 of How Does Celestia Know So Much About the Future? If you haven't already, I'd highly recommend checking out part 1, or you're going to feel very lost in all these theories and headcanons I'm about to throw around. First up, I have to wonder just how a pony like Puddinghead could have even become a Chancellor. That is, unless Applejack, posing as Smart Cookie, and Pinkie Pie working things from the background could actually make Puddinghead seem far more capable than she really is. And in the case of Commander Hurricane, I could imagine Fluttershy, who is posing as Private Pansy, could very subtly direct Hurricane not to make war on the other tribes, but rather lead her Pegasi to the new land. And all the while, Rainbow Dash is even posing as Hurricane here and there to help make that happen. Again, plenty of opportunities for a sort of comedy of errors situation. But once the stage has been set, and the three leaders meet in Equestria, we all know what happens next. Or do we? After all, history has shown a great many examples where the facts get muddled or confused over time. And through retelling the story of Hearth-warming Eve over several centuries, certain details get changed without anyone really realizing it. After all, just how many ponies actually saw the Wendigos with their own eyes? As far as we can tell, just the three assistants, since their leaders were frozen in ice by that moment in time. So really, if Twilight was indeed playing the part of Clover the Clever, along with Fluttershy and Applejack in their respective roles, and the rest of the main six managed to break through the ice block that had sealed up the cave, you'd have all the elements of harmony there to stand up against those beings who gain power through the distrust and infighting of ponies around them. Kind of like some certain sirens from Rainbow Rocks, don't you think? Now, I know I'm not the first person to make this kind of comparison, but when you think about it, the similarities are just far too many to pass up. And I know the lore of Rainbow Rocks says that Star Swirl banished them to another dimension. But again, history has shown that not all the facts are properly passed down over such a long period of time. Instead, what if we have the main six using this moment to display the remnants of rainbow power, which, to the surprise of everyone involved, creates the elements of harmony we've come to know, and in fact, perhaps even plants the seed for the Tree of Harmony? There are a lot of what-ifs here, I know, but you have to admit the concepts would be rather intriguing. For now, though, I'm about to rattle off a ton of little theories and headcanons that just might feed into what we know about MLP, so be prepared to get a bit overwhelmed. Imagine that Clover the Clever wasn't in fact the apprentice to Star Swirl the Bearded, but rather Star Swirl the Bearded was the apprentice of Twilight. Wouldn't that change quite a few things in the series, considering that Twilight could in fact help Star Swirl write that unfinished spell for Celestia to one day present to Twilight? What if the Tree of Harmony couldn't manifest itself without a living being to bring all the elements of harmony into a physical form? I mean, knowing what they know about how the future turns out, how would the main six react in such a moment? Who would end up volunteering to take on the form of a tree over the course of more than 1,000 years? How about the little yellow Pegasus who once said,
"I'd like to be a tree"?
And with that in mind, imagine Discord's reaction when he was finally told about the fate of Fluttershy, knowing that he had once sought to destroy the Tree of Harmony when Fluttershy was the very first friend he'd ever had. Let's say the main six returned to the present day without Fluttershy and over time discovered that if they allowed the elements of harmony to return to their original form before Twilight had helped them manifest into the Tree of Harmony, they discovered that the tree would turn back into Fluttershy, bringing a happy reunion. And what about Celestia and Luna? How do they fit into all these events? Might they have been discovered by Twilight when they were still at a young age and slowly taught about some of the most important events of the future? Could that finally explain just why Celestia seems to know far more than she should? Or what if, in fact, Celestia and Luna hadn't been born as of yet? I mean, we do know that the Alicorn sisters were indeed born as they are and weren't granted wings or a horn as Twilight and Cadance were, so wouldn't that suggest they had Alicorn parents? Or perhaps just one Alicorn parent? Again, I'm sure I'm not the first person to suggest such an idea, but again, it would explain quite a few things about the series as a whole. Finally, I'd like to direct your attention to a prophecy which appeared during the Nightmare Moon arc. On the longest day of the 1,000th year, the stars will aid in her escape, and she will bring about nighttime eternal. Take a closer look at this moment here when Nightmare Moon escapes. What if those aren't actual stars, but in fact ponies who happen to have stars in their name? Like, say, Twilight Sparkle and Star Swirl the Bearded? Perhaps even Sunset Shimmer, or maybe Starlight Glimmer? Phew! That was a lot to go through all at once. But these are the sort of ideas and suggestions that just keep rolling around in my head on a daily basis. Trying to connect so many seemingly random elements in MLP so they could actually fit together in a way we hadn't considered before. Though, as per usual, I haven't asked what I usually find the most interesting question of all. What do you think? I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.